Hello everyone, my name is Carly Gotz and I am the General Manager for Botanica. And today I'm joined by Tracy Foster. Welcome, Tracy.
Thank you very much. Lovely to join you.
Thank you for joining us. Tracy, as well as being a botanical guide, you are a garden designer based in Leeds in the beautiful Yorkshire region of England, which is a place close to my heart because that's where my husband is from and his parents are still there. So I love to visit the Yorkshire Dales. But next year, you're going to be joining us on our Tenerife to Porto cruise. And I really wanted to chat to you today about some of the highlights of the trip. And I'm very excited about this because I'm traveling on this cruise also. And I'm particularly interested in learning more about the story of the plant hunters and why the regions we're traveling through on this cruise were so significant to the plant hunting story.
Yeah, well, plant hunting really got started in the age of discovery when nations were starting to send out explorations across the world and find out what was out there, and importantly, what they could claim for their own countries and expand their empires. So that started sort of 1418 and went on for about 200 years. But the interesting thing about Canaries and Madeira were they were some of the first places that Spain and Portugal claimed for themselves. So Madeira was claimed, I think that was 1419, by a captain called Zarco. So as soon as the Portuguese had claimed it, the plants there were important. They were looking around and they could see that those plants had values. In fact, the name Madeira was the name Zarco and his men gave to the island, and it means timber. He looked at the island, he saw all those trees, and he thought, oh, that's worth something. Timber, we'll call it that. And even Funchal, the main port that we'll visit, is named after a plant. It's got its name because when the first people to land there arrived, they smelt this fabulous sort of sweet herbal smell in the air, and it was fennel. And funcho means fennel in Portuguese, and funchal means lots and lots of fennel. So the whole island's got this sort of planty history. So as soon as those islands, the Canaries and Madeira, started to be colonized by the Spanish and the Portuguese, they were used as a stopping off point for exploratory voyages, partly because of their location. They're in a superb location. If you're heading from Europe out to discover things, you've pretty much got to stop there. You know that they're out in the Atlantic Ocean there, which is good for the plant hunters and for the islands because people were coming and stopping. It's also good as well for the plants on the islands. This position that they've got out in the Atlantic means they've got a really special climate. They've got a nice mild climate. They get plenty of water, and it's enabled the plants on those islands to be really special. So there are plants there which have died out elsewhere and become extinct because of harsh climatic conditions. But out in the Atlantic, they've got this buffer, and the plants have been able to survive. So there are some sort of prehistoric plants surviving on the islands that are very, very interesting. And also because the islands are quite isolated, there's been a bit of an acceleration of evolution there as well. So there are a lot of new species that evolved. So they were a hot spot really. As soon as people started to understand the value of plants, they wanted to go there. Lots of famous people have been looking for plants. James Cunningham, a botanist, he went there mid-1600s. We had Sir Hans Sloane. He was a physician and a scientist. He went there. He was only there for 3 days on his way across the Atlantic, and he discovered 38 new species of plants in 3 days, which is quite remarkable. Captain Cook went there on his first voyage. He stopped in Madeira, and he had scientists on board. He had Sir Joseph Banks from Kew Gardens fame, and he also had Daniel Solander with him as well. And he was a student of Linnaeus, Carl Linnaeus, who developed the naming system that we use for plants. So they were on board. And whilst they were there, they discovered 400 new species of plants. And so the story goes on. Lots and lots of people came on the island of Tenerife. Alexander von Humboldt visited. He was a scientist and an explorer really as well. And he went to Tenerife and he stayed in a garden there called Sitio Litre, and wrote about it in his journals. And those journals were read by lots of people. And they also had their interest awakened and went there. People like a very remarkable plant hunter called Marianne North, who went to Tenerife, stayed in Sitio Litre, and she painted some of her most famous paintings there. She was a very unorthodox botanical painter, and her story is just fascinating.
It is fascinating, and it is one of the gardens that we are going to visit on this particular trip. And there are a number of islands that we're going to visit. What are some of the gardens and plants that you're looking forward to seeing on the Canary Islands on this trip?
Well, on Tenerife, it will be great to go to Sitio Litre because it's got that history. The garden itself is lovely, and the people that have visited have just layered this extra interest in there. People like crime writer Agatha Christie, she spent a fair bit of time there as well, and wrote novels while she was staying nearby. So it's got this fascinating sort of atmosphere to it, and a very charming garden as well with really good plants. All over Tenerife, there's a lot of green space and lots of lovely public gardens. And right in the port, right in the actual place where the cruisers depart from, there's a wonderful garden that's a palmetum, and it's created on a great big hill. It's almost walkable really from the port. It's not very far at all, and quite unexpected. It's got lots of palms in it, as you might expect, but also it's very cleverly curated into groups of plants from all over the world. And unbelievably, it's built on top of an old refuse tips. It's quite impossible to believe, but it's elevated because of that. And you can look out across the sea, sparkling and blue. And all the time, they're carefully controlling what's going on under the ground to make sure the plants are getting the right amounts of nutrients. They're not going to be affected by the rubbish under there. So scientifically, it's really, really exciting place to go. And also, of course, there are wildflowers. And at that time of the year where the tour is taking place, the wildflowers are going to be spectacular. So there's Mount Tady, which has got vast areas of wildflowers. And I am very, very hopeful that we might see some of their endemic plants, including their echium. They have an echium called Echium wildprettii, which is a tall red spire. And apparently they are there in vast numbers in the spring, but I have never, ever caught them flowering. So I'll be excited if I see them. Yeah, so that's going to be absolutely amazing. On the other islands, there's 3 islands that I think are really good for seeing wildflowers: La Palma, El Hierro, and La Gomera. And they have sort of national parks or natural parks where the plant life there is protected. And you can actually go into these ancient cloud forests, which are pretty much unchanged for thousands of years. They are it's like stepping back in time, really, and walking in the land of the dinosaurs. And no dinosaurs, thankfully, but the plants are just amazing and often sort of shrouded in mist. It's a very wonderful, special experience. And there are plants in there, of course, that are really interesting too. These wonderful dandelion relatives. They look just like dandelions, but they're the size of trees, that sort of thing. All very interesting.
Wow, it sounds quite magical.
Yeah,
it really does. I'm really looking forward to seeing all of those different islands. And talking of islands, I understand that this year you've actually visited Madeira 3 times already this year, and it's only June. So tell me what you love about Madeira.
Oh, I love lots of things about Madeira. It's a beautiful island. It's got a lovely climate, and they really have made the most of that. It's a volcanic island like the Canaries as well. And they tend to be quite tall, some of these islands, and they catch the rain coming in from the north, and it tends to only rain on one side of the island, which is really really unusual. But they've been very clever in Madeira. They've developed this network of tiny little canals that take the water from the rainy parts down to the sunny parts, which are the bits that people normally visit. And that means the island is very lush, very green. There's plenty of water for all the plants. It provides the drinking water and everything as well. And it's enabled that island to sort of build up its agricultural heritage. And the gardens have kind of come off the back of that. You know, on the island, grapes came straight away with the first settlers. And grapes on the island of Madeira have become really important. They grow extremely well there. They're grown in a really unique way on these sort of strange little pergola systems. And they're made into wine in a really unique way as well. And of course, Madeira wine brought lots of merchants in. And these merchants started to set up their own fabulous country quintas with their own gardens. And that's one of the reasons why the island has all these lovely gardens. And that's something that I enjoy so much. You can go back to them again and again, and there's always something new to see. Like Blandy's garden, the Paliero garden, I think is its proper name, is owned and run by the Blandy family, who made their money from Madeira wine. And they still run their wine business as well. So that's quite a fascinating garden to go to. 7 generations of Blandys now have lived there, and they've all brought their own favourite plants to the garden. So there are little areas sort of all about various members of the family that they've just brought their favourite things, and that makes it very personal too. Oh, all sorts of great gardens there. My favourite, I think, would probably be Mont Palace. I love the botanical garden there as well. Oh, I can't, too many to mention really, but Mont Palace Garden has just got it for me. It's got a little bit of everything. It's very dramatic. You go with the cable car to get to it, and it makes the most of its hillside location. There's water cascading everywhere. There is a sort of Japanese style ravine that you can walk through over bridges and stepping stones. There are places to sit. It's plants galore, and a great section of island native plants as well. So it's a really, really good place for everyone, I think.
Oh, it sounds fabulous. And it's such a popular destination. I lived in the UK for 10 years, and so many Brits go on holidays to Madeira because it does have that beautiful climate, and it's just so scenic. So the other area that we are going to visit on this trip as well is to see some of the gardens in Portugal also. And what are you looking forward to seeing in mainland Portugal?
There's so much to love about Portugal in general, actually. The food, the climate, and gardens are very important to the Portuguese and in Portugal. So even in Lisbon, a big city, it's a very green city, lots of parks, and parks and palaces and grand houses around. And probably the best well known of all of those, the Fronteira Palace, which is just outside the main sort of centre of the city. And it's very grand, very beautiful, really colourful actually, and remarkably well preserved. I think it was built in the 1700s. I'll just have a look, see if I might have a date somewhere. Sometime in the 17th century, in fact. So it was pre-1700s, and it managed to escape any damage. And when Lisbon had an earthquake, it's had an earthquake in 1750 or something. So that palace has survived unscathed, and it has got these remarkable gardens with the blue and white tiles and the brightly coloured red walls, lots of water features. It's kind of inspired by the Italian gardens, that whole feel of statues and gods and formality. So that's going to be a great one to visit. And then of course there's Sintra, which is the thing not to miss in that area, which the whole of Sintra is really special. I think it's all a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It was a place where lots of wealthy people built fabulous palaces up in the hills to get away from the heat in the summer. And so there are many different palaces and gardens in all sorts of different styles. And I think the best one is probably the Peña Palace, which is extremely well known, and it's built in a variety of different styles. It's quite eccentric, but still manages to look beautiful. It's got a bit of Gothic, a bit of Manueline architecture in there, a bit of Portuguese romantic, a bit of European castle, all in the mix. And it really is very beautiful. And then the gardens are kind of created to look wild, bit of the so-called English style, sort of parkland look, but also things like crags. And I love that they've got an alpine cottage in the grounds as well. So a very, very interesting place to go. And then traveling further up, of course, there's Porto with its palaces and gardens and its great wine traditions, of course. And inland, you can visit gardens in Coimbra as well, which is the ancient university town there. There's the palace there, the Quinta de Lagomas, which I think means the sort of House of Tears because of the very sort of sad story of a forbidden romance that took place there. And of course, you'd expect the garden to reflect that. It's very romantic with lots of ruins. But they've got an interesting section there too, which I'd like to see, with a collection of plants that predate the age of discovery. So somebody has very carefully researched to find what true natives of the area would have looked like, and they've got 50 plants that predate that age, which will be fascinating. Yeah, it's a great. It's a country with so much to offer and so much to explore. It's very difficult to know where to stop, really.
Absolutely. As you say, it's so fascinating. There's so many amazing stories. All of these gardens have just so much to discover and uncover. So I'm really looking forward to it. As I said, thank you so much for joining me today, Tracy. It's been great to have a chat and learn a little bit more about the trip. For those of you watching at home, I would love for you to join Tracy and I on this trip. And I look forward to seeing you somewhere in the world soon. Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you very much. Bye.